Okay.
女士们、先生们，欢迎来到李世锋茶谈录。Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tea with Li. Today, with great honor and pleasure, we are going to have Victoria from Serbia to share with us her life story to be an English teacher and how she dived into the world of teaching English and is a job of being an English teacher could make a nice living, and also what is the story behind. So Victoria has a Chinese name called Li Aike. Ke, it means the jade stone. It's very solid and with beautiful color and shape, just like you. Okay, please, Victoria Li Aike. How did you dive into the world of language?
Hi, everyone, and I hope that you will enjoy our conversation today. And it's a real pleasure to be here today and to talk to you. So I'll begin my story. I guess it's important to say that I was born in Siberia. It's in Russia. And that place is really remote from all the other places, and especially from the English-speaking countries. But we did have a school that was specialized in English, and my parents decided that I need to get this education. So I'm really thankful to them. When I was 15, I got a scholarship to study in the United States. And I spent a year there. I graduated from high school, and I decided that English is so into my life back then, was so into my life, and I definitely needed to connect my further education with English. So I came back to Russia, and I went to study international relations, not pedagogical education. I just thought that I have I needed to have some maybe diplomatic future as my profession. So, but later I changed my mind, and but English was always, I was always good at English, and all the other group mates asked me to help them with their studies, and then they would recommend me to some other friends, and slowly I started getting students. I did not think of myself as a teacher back then. I was just like a tutor helping out with some English homework or some English grammar. Later on, I moved to St. Petersburg in Russia, and I continued teaching. But as you mentioned, is it possible to make a living being a teacher? Well, it was extremely hard, to be honest. And I always had another part-time job. So during all my path, I always had some other job, and I still do now. I work in the IT company. I am a copywriter. So I always did and still do something different as well. So then I guess, to make a long story short, I just continued teaching, and the more I did that, the more rewarding it was for me. Nothing brought me so much joy than teaching. And later on, I moved to Serbia. So that's where I live now. And I still teach. And this is, I've been doing that for more than 14 years, very long, a long period of time, I guess. And it still brings me lots of joy. As for, I guess, the question, what English means to me, for me, English is the most popular way to be understood around the world. So being the most popular language, I really like when my students understand other people. Well, not all of them, of course, not all people speak English, but a lot of them do. I like this feeling when they share, when they travel, when they have new job opportunities, when they have new educational opportunities because of English. I really feel happy. And for me, learning a language is about understanding. I'm also learning Serbian now, and I've been learning Spanish for 4 years now. And this July, I'm starting to learn Chinese. So that was my dream a long time ago. And I'm finally here in Serbia, where I can do it easily. And I'm really happy because there is a cultural Chinese center, and I can't wait to begin and learn a new language.
Cool. And happy to hear that your background and the story behind of learning, practicing English and teaching English, and now you become much more how can I say, you are discovering more and more different languages to feel the linguistics, and beyond all of this, you are going to study you are going to start learning Chinese language, and and I think after learning Chinese language, your language capacity and ability will become much more wiser and richer, because the Chinese language, which is a pictograph arts, particularly the writing system, is very different with let's say the Latin language, this stuff.
Yes.
Little story to share. So I traveled to Serbia as well. Siberia. I was in Irkutsk and to visit
nice.
the Lake Baikal. And I have the interesting part is at that moment I did some couch surfing in Irkutsk. So the host whom were taking care of me, they have 2 boys. At that moment, it's 8 years ago. They were like primary school kids. Now they are in the college, and they visited in Beijing. So we almost met up each other a few days ago when I was in Beijing. But for some reason, because we are living, Beijing is quite huge, so they are living quite far from me, and I was rushing to come back to have the other thing. We didn't meet up, but this is a story about with the Siberia. And also their mother is English teacher, part-time English teacher like you, and another of her job is tourist guide. So that's kind of a reason for me, I practice English by my own for now how many years? 14 years without stop. So English really, not Kungfu, but English changed my life to reach more people, to being the bridge between Chinese Kungfu with the Westerners. Because of course we said Kung Fu is body language. Sometimes to understand each other, you don't need to speak the same language. But if you can speak the same language, you can deliver more message with details, with philosophy, with mindset to them, right? So this is what you shared with us. Okay, cool. And more detail to ask, as we mentioned. So I'm sort of martial artist, you are also linguistics. So many like artists like us. So sometimes we have to do another job to survive, to make a good living. So how it goes, I mean, how many hours you teach English a day, to whom you are teaching, how you find your clients, and on the other side, I mean, how you balance your normal job?
That's a good question. You know, it's been different throughout the years. For example, even several years ago, teaching was almost full-time for me, a full-time job. It took about 6 or 7 hours per day of classes. And then the rest would go to preparation for classes, checking home tasks, and etc., etc. But now I do not teach as much because I mostly work in IT, but I have approximately 3 students per day. So that would go to 3 hours per day plus preparation. So that makes it like a part-time job. But at the same time, I would really like to teach more. So eventually my goal is, well, to, to grow from a teacher to an English school. So that's one of my career goals in teaching, and I'd like to make it a school and be able to share all the knowledge I have and share all the methods and all my experience. And I have really a big experience in teaching for very different students. I guess I also should share that I was a professor at the university in St. Petersburg, and that also contributed to my experience. And I taught to really, really different ages, different people with different background. It was business English, oil and gas English, and just general English, all sorts, all types of English. So at this point of time, I'm also willing not only to share the knowledge of English with students, but also to share with other teachers, to share my experience with other teachers, and just to expand this business, well, to actually make it more of a business rather than just teaching. And the way I search for clients, that's a good question, because when I lived in Russia, I did not search for clients, they found me. And that was a good thing. I wasn't into marketing that much. And now, since I moved to Serbia, I really, the market has changed. Now I'm looking for Russian speakers who do not live in Russia, who live in Europe, and who need English for their professional goals, for their educational goals. And that's when I need to, well, start doing marketing for me being a teacher. And that's what I actually started doing. 2 months ago, I started making the reels for my Instagram, and this is something really, really new to me, because I have not done it in terms of English language. So did I miss another question, or
no, it's perfect. So I think why the question came out about how to find the clients, or how to find students, or how the student could find you. This is the question we are having as a martial artist. So, okay, just like you, before the students came to find us. But nowadays, sort of reason, the technology, you are also working in IT. The technology of internet to offer live streaming, to teach online, to share online is getting more and more popular. And also one of the reasons, because we were stuck because of the pandemic for 3 or 4 years. And people couldn't come to China, or the Chinese people, the martial artists, they couldn't really go out to share. So there must be some way.
Yes.
And also, in China at this moment, the martial artists, it's sort of shame to find the students. Like they are the masters, or they think they are the masters. And it's for them, it's hard to do the marketing and to promote themselves. They think, well, to promote teaching martial arts, it's not a business. It's the spirituality. It's the way of delivering so important thing to the world. But now because we have so many activities now, video games, this and that, and also some extreme sports. So the space of martial arts getting being squeezed. So many martial artists, they couldn't really make a living anymore. So they have to put their level down, or whatever, to dive into this marketing point. And they have to do marketing themselves to reach more people, to let people know who they are, also what they can do, what they can share, what benefits they can bring to the society. It's simple. Looks like hard truth and very rough, but they see the how to make a living, how to deliver to generation after generation sustainable, right? So you know, some people came to learn with you. Maybe they want to, like we are learning English. We want to make a living by our passion. Sometimes we have to do, right? So this is the question why I ask this question, because so many martial artists, they are having this question as well, how to reach them. And you mentioned that you open some like social media to do the marketing. Yeah, so, and thank you for sharing your personal experience story. Okay, so now we're back to the more technical way. On the way of no matter learning martial arts or also the languages, most of us, we probably worked in the zigzag way or made some mistake before. I did so many mistakes on learning no matter English or martial arts. So is there any zigzag road you worked on or any kind of mistake you made? If not yet, and or not really, what kind of advice you would like to share to the people who are learning English?
Okay, that's a good question. You know, I made so many mistakes that it would take forever to speak about them, actually. As I mentioned in the beginning of my story, I grew up in one of the Siberian cities. It's not Irkutsk, it's Barnaul. It's a little bit to the west, but in the same area. And this place is extremely remote to Moscow, to St. Petersburg, and to English-speaking countries, to any other countries. It's like a very remote place, you know. Which meant that when I was growing up in the 90s, we had no movies in English, we had no books in English. It was extremely hard to find anything. We did not have internet. And basically, the way I started learning English was from my teachers from school. And these were the teachers also in a small town in Siberia who did not have a chance to travel back then, considering that, you know, there was the Soviet Union and it was a pretty closed place, which did not let people travel that much. And teachers had really, really limited experience in English. And the way I was taught, you know, they made many mistakes because they did not have a chance sometimes to check what they like with the Google or, you know, like we can do now. It's so fast and easy to check. And when I won the scholarship to study in the United States, I went to the high school there, and I made so many mistakes in my speech. Well, mistakes as a student, because I was not perfect, and also some things which were not known to my teachers in Barnaul, in this remote place. And some situations were really funny. Some of them were really embarrassing. And there were so many of them that at some point I just stopped being shy, you know? I stopped having this language barrier because I realized that I make so many mistakes, it's impossible to feel embarrassed, you know, after each of that mistake. And that at that point, it helped me to grow. And at that point, it helped me to notice my mistakes, to like self-edit my speech. And the most important thing that it taught me is not to be afraid to speak, because I was really afraid. I did not have experience talking to people from other countries. It was impossible being a, you know, little girl in the province town in Siberia. And that's the biggest zigzag in that road. Later on, I really, well, I came back to Russia, and then another difficulty was that to keep up with the modern trends and of language, I really wanted to travel to another countries, and and that was only possible if I earned money. And to earn money, you gotta work hard. So this is like, a circle. I worked hard, I traveled, I practiced my English to keep up as a teacher with the modern language. And then I came back, and then I worked extremely hard to earn money and to travel and to keep up with the level of English. So this is like a never-ending journey, but I enjoy it so much. It's a difficult journey, being a Siberian girl, but now I'm really thankful for that zigzag path that I had. It taught me to be a hardworking person. It taught me to be sort of a perfectionist when it comes to languages and to teaching and to being, I would say, the best teacher for my students. And now I'm really happy to see that, for example, in Serbia, they have movies in English in the cinemas as well. They have people here also speak English, and people even in Russia, they have the opportunity to use different services, different platforms, and just not to be in this limited space. So this is really great. So the changes now, and happy to see all these changes.
Okay, cool. So I also had quite many embarrassing moments on the way of learning English. And so I will share my embarrassing moment, and you can share what was yours. I mean, kind of quite, now looking back, it was funny. But at that moment, you feel a little bit shame. So what was my embarrassing moment is, okay, I was working as a solar engineer in the south part of China. At that moment, we were setting up the machine from Germany. So because that machine is for solar products, like thinking about we must making this ceramic teacup. So we must cook this material to melt it, and then with the processing to let it cooling down. If any problem happened on this way of processing, the temperature will jumping, and then the products will be, damaged or cannot be good. So with the German engineer, and I was the one whom talking with. At that moment, in our company, we have so many great employees. They graduated from the top university in China, but they can write and read professionally. But to speak it out, extremely challenging for them either. I was the one who may be stupidly brave to talk with the engineer, the German engineer, with my broken English. But I was brave, of course. So, so when on the way of processing, I have a question to ask the German engineer. So the German engineer, I still remember right now, called Hansi. So I went to their office. I called Hansi. Hansi, I have a problem. He was shocked. Problem? Where is the problem? Let's go to fix it out. So I lead him to the working space, pointing one part on the machine. I asked him, Hansi, what is this? And he said, Li, please, this is not a problem. This is a question. You get it? Because at the moment, I don't know what is the problem, what is the question. So this was quite of embarrassment happened on my way of learning English. So what about yours?
Oh my God, let me try and remember some cases. I guess one of the fun moments for me was when I worked for Godiva Chocolatier. It's a chocolate company that is widespread in the United States, and I went there to work as a sales assistant. But I did not know the names of different chocolates, and I mispronounced them. My most embarrassing moments were connected to mispronouncing, I guess. And the management in this store, they just, for the first day, they just decided to listen to my speech, and I pretended to be so self-confident, like I know everything. I know how to sell, even though I never sold anything to anyone, and they were these chocolate pieces called truffles, but in Russian, truffle is trüffel. So I kept calling it truffle, and they were laughing behind my back about it. And by the end of the day, they told me, like, what is truffle, like you're sneezing or something. And I guess I was not upset about it. It was just a funny moment, and it was funny that they let me talk to the customers, to the clients all day, mispronouncing this word completely. So, but it's a nice experience. I still remember. I'm still in touch with that manager. It was 17 years ago or something. And sometimes we're still making fun of this in social media. So just about mispronunciation.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and so we both share the zigzag road we walked on. You mentioned that because the zigzag road, sometimes because our background, for example, you're from the genre of Russia to study in the United States, and also I almost learning English totally by myself. So do you have any moment that you would like to quit?
No.
I mean, now you are a teacher, you teach worldwide. We have confidence. We know how to deliver our message by a second language. I used to have, I almost quit, but I told myself, okay, let me working on 3 months more. If I still cannot getting improving, and I will quit. Luckily, into this 3 months, like the tipping point happened, like the breaking point happened, and then I opened the window to breathe, to feel the freshness of learning language, the enjoyment, and I kept working on. Lucky, but maybe many of them they just quit. So did you have this kind of moment?
To be honest, I did not have such a moment. For me, it wasn't. Perhaps when I was still a student myself, I did not see English as something I should really master. It really was pretty easy for me to study. I'm not sure why, but it just happened that way. And for me, learning English was always like a game, It was just like I'm learning the words of a different language that mean the same in my language. For me, it was something magical, and it was like a game, and I was so into this game. It wasn't, for me, I never perceived it like a serious study or something I need to know for my future, something career, very nice career. Maybe that's the reason why I actually never wanted to quit, because of my perception of studying. But for my students, sometimes that happened because they could lose motivation, for example, or they would realize that the process of learning would take more than they expected. So they expected to learn really, really fast, and learning a language, just like learning a martial art, it's a process, and it's a never-ending process. I'm still learning English. Not as fast, because I know a lot, but I understand that there are so many things I still don't know about English, and I'm still in the process of learning. And sometimes this scares people, and this might scare people. And sometimes they lack motivation, or their life goals may change. That may happen. So in this case, I always talk to my students, and we it's a sort of like a psychological talk, we discuss, and we learn what kind of things can motivate to continue. for example, in the beginning, they might have a certain goal, a career goal, and then they might just switch to traveling goals or just to communication goals or something. But if I see that, well, nothing helps, then I guess it's time to just stop for a while. And most of my students actually come back. They stop, they think, they, well, probably find new goals or find new meanings why they need to, well, learn, continue learning. And, well, most of them come back.
Cool.
So, yeah, that's really cool. And for me, with English, well, answering your question, I never wanted to quit, but with Spanish, I have a different story. So,
Okay. So,
yeah.
okay, since you are learning different languages right now, so for me now, because I almost, let's say, educated myself English totally by myself. Of course, not totally by myself, by the helping hand from friends, from the books, from this and that, whatever. Now I have, I mean, extremely confidence to dive into any language, what we call them. So I don't feel to learn any language is challenging. It is challenging, of course, like to learn different martial arts style is challenging, but not that challenging because our experience. So my question is, you learn the different languages, so is English is the simple, I mean, the most simple one, or the simplest one to dive in? Or you think, okay, you know, also you learn the Spanish, and what is the relationship of learning English and the Spanish? What kind of similarity and difference?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. Thank you. With English, it's considered to be the easiest language. So people should not be afraid to start studying it because it's not as hard as it seems. I mean, on a regular basis, it's a lot more simple than it seems. And English language is really structured. So what I like about it is that there is a certain structure, there is a system, and once you get the system, it all becomes better and better. With Spanish, it's a little different because Spanish is more, it has so many exceptions, so many rules, and diving into these rules, and there are plenty of them, a lot more than in English. For me, it's pretty hard. So, but Spanish is very similar to English. I cannot say that it's like a completely different language. It's not like, I don't, even Chinese language. Chinese would be for me like a new book that I have never seen, you know? And Spanish, some words in Spanish are similar to English. So it's not learning new words is not that difficult, but learning grammar is. For me, grammar is pretty hard in Spanish. So.
Cool. And long time ago, I used to learn a tiny bit of Spanish as well, because at the moment I had quite a lot of friends and students from Latin America. So, and also I traveled to almost the whole Latin America to teach, to give the class. And what I found is Spanish sounded good. It's very easy to, it's with great pleasure to listen up.
Oh,
English
indeed,
is quite rough,
indeed.
Right? So Spanish,
Yes,
they have a lot
that's
of
true.
vowel, right? Vowel, right? The ending like
Vowels, yeah.
vowels. So it make the sound much more sweeter and softer, right?
Yes,
English
exactly.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, it's quite rough to, you know, but yeah, I enjoyed quite a lot to listen up, particularly the Spanish music. You know, they are quite catchy, right?
Me too.
Okay.
Me too.
So you mentioned that you are learning Chinese as well, and you are going to learn. So how could you share with us some basic of Chinese? What you can say right now, and what kind of character you practice?
I can't say nothing because I'm just starting in July in a few months. So
Okay.
At the moment, it's like a closed book for me. So and I
Okay.
can't wait to open it. So
Okay, cool. So I believe that after your so strong and solid background of learning and teaching language, to dive into the Chinese language is not as challenging as most people thinking about, because so many Westerner, they think to learn Chinese is quite challenging, and it's not that much. Maybe writing is a little bit challenging, but to speak it out, it's so-so. It's not as challenging as people think to learn English as well. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and knowledge. Together, experience and knowledge become wisdom, your wisdom of learning and teaching language with us. And also, I'm looking forward to listen up more stories about and also experience on the way of learning Chinese. As there is a Chinese proverb called 千里之行始于足下, a journey with 1,000 miles kicked off with a single step moving forward. So I believe that you moved
really cool.
one step forward and you will keep on your journey. And in the future, hopefully we can have our tea talk in Chinese language.
Oh, hope so. Hope so. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today. It was a real pleasure.
Okay, and later I will share your, let's say, your social media and also how people can reach you. And yeah, if anybody who are looking for an English teacher or to book the training course and also to share the stories, welcome to contact Victoria Li Ai珂for the greater English course and also the story behind. I believe that you can learn a lot from her, and I'm looking forward for our next tea talk. Okay, see you. 再见。
Okay, thank you so much. See you.
Okay, 再见，谢谢。